welcome back to the class, everyone. As all of you already know, because it's been posted practically everywhere, we have several new Lightspeed bundles coming to the game, and as we all also know, they have a tendency to be the peak value when it comes to getting a good bang for your buck. But in today's video, I want to address just how good are they, and how well do they stack up against one another. So to do that, as you all may know, I love Excel spreadsheets, so that's where we're going to be today. I guess this is technically Google Sheets, but same difference. And I've done this type of video before, but for those who haven't seen those videos, what we're trying to do here is we are going to piece together the 5 different packs that are currently out there, and I want to see how much Kyrotech and how much signal data are you getting for just the simple purchase of $49.99 or $14.99, whatever the pack itself costs. The reason why we're going to be using these two metrics is because almost everybody still needs these two things. So this whole equation is not going to take into account any of the shards that you are getting for free when you get the, or not for free, but you're getting for the price that you pay when you buy the Lightspeed bundle. It's also not going to include a lot of the smaller gear like Carbonti or stun guns that have been made much more accessible through the new raid system. It's going to be focusing entirely on all the Kyrotech that you would otherwise have to spend to get all these characters that we're talking about to Relic 3 or to Relic 5 or whatever it is, and as well the signal data and convert into crystals. And that is really the equation we are going to be working with. We're not going to be looking at all the other different packs that may pop up over time, or even what these resources would cost you if you were to farm them normally. But if you were to go into the game right now, you were to open up the store and you wanted to buy the signal data or the Kyrotech, we're comparing it against that because that just seems like the most universal cost for this, and that'll at least will give you a good idea of how much the pack overall is worth, even if you have another avenue that is cheaper than shipments, which you probably do because we all know the 50 crystal refreshes for these energies is the most economical way to pretty much do everything out there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just start going down these. I want to take them apart a little bit, look actually what's in there, and not just purely assign a number to them. So first up, we have the General Skywalker pack, which does include a wide variety of characters. One of the things that I really like about the pack, and really what I like about the legendary event for General Skywalker, is that every single character you get out of this is either good or is required for something. And quite frankly, I guess the only one of these characters that isn't really that great is going to be Clone Sergeant. Other than that, GK, Jedi Anakin, Ahsoka, Fives, Asajj Ventress, Shock, Plo Koon, and then the rest of the droids, these all have some type of place in the game, whether it be PvE or PvP viability. You are going to want to take some of them to higher relics, but at the same time, now you don't have to pay for the price of getting to the lower relic or the Kyrotech that is associated with them. When we look at our spreadsheet here, you will notice that when we compare all the Kyrotechs that are needed between all the different packs, the General Skywalker one is really the only one that has a substantial amount of Kyrotech involved. And that's pretty much all Shaak Ti's fault. It's actually really funny. Every other pack out here that we're looking at when we talk about Kyrotechs, it's actually only the Kyrotech that is needed to get them from Gear 12 to Gear 13. Whereas for the General Skywalker pack, we actually do have a few characters in there that need Kyrotech before they get to Gear 13. So that's why this is so inflated. But that does inherently give the pack more value. We will get to the overall equation of where it stands because while it does have more value, it is more expensive. So overall for Kyrotech, you're getting about a $285 value when you're considering that you would have to buy that Kyrotech out of shipments. Again, if you want to know what that would look like if you were farming them, maybe you'd cut the number in half, or you can run your own numbers in that regard. As far as signal data goes, it's not actually all that much. I mean, it's still good. It's still better than nothing. But you'll notice that every single character here, and this is true on most packs, not all, but true on most packs, you're only getting up to Relic 3, which is nice. Then you can slap a Datacron on the team, and quite frankly, you can complete the whole event for General Skywalker with R3 across the boards. We'll be doing videos on that later, but for now, it really gets you what you need. It gets your foot in the door. But overall, long term, when you're looking at Galactic Legends or filling out your roster, a lot of these characters are going to want R5 at a minimum. So that is something to take into consideration when we're looking at an overall term of value. So not nearly as much in the signal data department. Really, the winner for that is Padme. And I think Padme, she might not be the best pack, and we'll get to the nuances of that. But that is, I think that pack right now is probably being extremely underrated in comparison. But overall, the pack is worth about $350 when you look at the pure crystal cost that it would take you to get all that signal data and all that Kyrotech. The pack costs about 50 bucks, you know, do the math. It's about 7 times better if you were to go out and just buy this stuff straight up through shipments. So overall, definitely within normal parameters for a Lightspeed bundle. If you don't have any of the characters, it is a great deal. And one of the nuances that we kind of talked about earlier that needs to be put into consideration is the fact that you are getting a pretty much fully built get to fleet out of it. Now, we didn't show it before because it's quite frankly a different screenshot, but in addition to all those characters that we've talked about with their signal data and everything like that, you also get these ships, and this is a very big deal for beginner accounts. And the main reason why is because, yeah, getting the other ships is kind of a pain in the butt, but the Negotiator itself is not necessarily an expensive farm, but it is a very annoying farm. He can only be farmed, to my knowledge, with Get To currency. And while that's not the most useful currency out there, I guess you can also use it for Kyrotech. I do personally. But at the same time, it is such a slow grind to be able to get that currency and to slowly buy the ship time and time again. It takes months on months on months to be able to get it and just have it handed to you for the low price of 50 bucks on top of everything else you're already getting. Again, if you don't spend, I guess if you don't spend on the game, then, you know, you're probably not watching this video and you're probably not going to buy it at all. But man, if you spend on the game, you don't have Negotiator, this pack is probably already worth it by that alone, not even counting all the other stuff that we are going to get on top of it. So really, that is why I believe this is the best pack. I feel like it's a little bit obvious, partially due to that ship being in there, but it had to be said. We didn't want to avoid it and be misleading in any way. Next up, we do need to talk about Padme, and I've already alluded a little bit to what the Padme pack overall is going to look like and where a lot of its value does stand. And I personally, I like this a lot, and I think it's not getting as much attention as it probably should be, but the difference between the fact that you get Relic 5 characters instead of Relic 3 is huge from a signal data value perspective. And again, we're not even counting the rest of the gear or the salvage that is needed to get all these characters up to Relic 5. And one thing that I should say on this Padme one, and really every pack from here on out, you don't need these characters at Relics at all to beat the Padme event. Like, there's people out there who've done it like with Gear 11 Geonosians, or I myself, when I first unlocked Padme, I only used a Relic 1 General Grievous with 4 junk sides. You do not need this. That being said, this is awesome. To get all the droids, Relic 5, that you can use in your General Grievous team, to get Jango Fett that already gets you a foot in the door on JNK, and then just, you know, put him into one of the 4 squads that he works well in. New Gunray and Count Dooku are also Galactic Legend requirements. Actually, I think Count Dooku is a double Galactic Legend requirement. So the amount of value we're getting here, not necessarily for Padme, like honestly, you can get Padme with so much less, which is really why we're not lumping this price into the General Skywalker pack. The same can be said about the 3PO pack that we're going to look at here in a second. But this is nuts. This is so good, and all of it really does boil down to the fact that there are so many Relic 5 characters in here, and characters that you would otherwise want to have at least Relic 5 that you could just be getting. So overall, the Kyrotech, it's not that great of a deal. None of these characters were Kyrotech characters. You only need the 100 to get them to Gear 13, which that's something. I mean, it's $142 that it would cost you otherwise. But signal data, like look at the comparison, guys, between this pack specifically and the other 4 packs here. This is ridiculous. It's over double what General Skywalker. In fact, it might be. It's almost the same exact amount. You can't see right now, but I can see my auto sum feature here. It's almost the same exact amount as all other four combined. That's nuts, especially considering it's half the price of the General Skywalker pack. It is a little bit pricier than the other 3, but still, it's great. So overall, it has a $288 value for 25 bucks. So pretty nice. And then the nuance that I would say that has to come into the Padme pack, and we've already mentioned that they're all requirements. You either need them for Padme, or you're going to need them for a Galactic Legend, or you just want to have a really good droid team, either for Geonosia's territory battle or just for really anything. They're good in GAC, they're good in TW, they're really good everywhere. So overall, love that pack. I think it's highly underrated. Next up, we do have to talk about the Nightsisters, and this is where I think the packs take a slight dip in value. Not to say that they aren't still good, they're still way better than you spending money to be able to build these characters up through really any other method, but there are some nuances here that just overall aren't that great. So very similar to the Padme Pack. Not a lot of Chirotech here. I mean, 800, I guess, is still a good number. It's not 1600 though, so $142 value as far as that perspective goes. Signal data, you are getting, again, less than both General Skywalker and Padme, so only a $40 value. I guess the pack is still 15, so that's good. It's not bad. Overall, the pack is worth about $184, which when you do the conversion for how much you're paying for it, it is so cheap. It does end up coming out to a really good overall value. Again, none of this is considering things like shards, and I guess you're immediately getting access to the new event where you can get Zetas because you have Mother Talzin now at 7 stars. And then in addition to all of that, you will have a chance to go against the not ability block, the assault battle for Nightsisters, which really they're the only ones who can get to the last tier. You probably will need a bit more gear, and you also need Merrin. So that's really the biggest caveat to this pack right here. I guess we never showed the pack on screen, but you can see that it gives you every single Nightsister out there except Merrin. And I don't hate this. Obviously, Merrin in there would be better, but at the same time, it's the similar thing to the Phoenix pack that we got a while ago. Sure, is Krex very important for any Phoenix team that is halfway decent, but just farm Krex. And I'm having the same exact attitude when it comes to this Nightsister pack. Sure, you don't get Merrin, just farm Merrin. Even if you have to do the whole slow grinding thing and then giving her Chirotech and maybe she stays at gear 9 or gear 11 for a while, if you don't have Nightsisters built at all, Nightsisters with crappy Merrin is way better than nothing at all. And then, you know, Merrin also gets a foot in the door with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, so there's other things that you can chain with that. One of the other things that I like about the Nightsisters is I think one of the bigger struggles that comes along with getting these Lightspeed bundles is sometimes they can be very mod challenging because getting 5 or 7 or 8 characters out of nowhere can be really taxing because most people don't have 40 good mods just sitting around. At the same time, the Nightsisters don't necessarily want bad mods, but they want different mods. Daka is not really all that speed intensive. She's more so health oriented. Asajj Ventress, if you have her GAC Omicron, she's actually more potency oriented. We can go look into Merrin. She's actually tenacity and protection oriented, assuming you want her to beat high end level things. So that is one of the other things that's kind of tempting about the Nightsister pack is it might not be as taxing on you because you don't have to give them all of your best speed mods or other offense mods like a lot of these other packs are going to want. So now moving on to the Geonosian pack. Geonosian pack is going to see something very similar to Nightsisters in the fact that they're not a lot of Chirotech value here, nor is there a lot of signal data value here. Again, it's a Lightspeed bundle. It costs 15 bucks. You're still getting an incredible value. And I think the biggest nuance that probably comes along with this one, outside of the fact that, you know, you're only getting 5 characters, is the fact that this is a really good guild pack. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of guilds would really encourage their members to get it, because not only do you like completely destroy the WAT mission, you don't need Relic 3 Geonosians for the WAT mission, but I mean, they probably work on auto. In addition to that, you also get the Accolade mission pretty much on lockdown with all of them relics. But in addition to that, one of the more popular early mid-game territory wars teams is the Poggle Omicron, and having them all at R3, that helps a lot, adding to the overall durability of the team. And then again, if your whole guild, or not even if half your guild does this, and you're able to build a good wall out of it, that's pretty cool. So that is one consideration that I would throw out there, where I think the Geonosians probably have a little bit of an up when it comes to overall guild productivity. And last, and I guess kind of least, is going to be the Ewok and or 3PO pack. And I don't really love this one, and it's for a very similar reason to that of the Padme pack, except without the ulterior value. And that is, you don't need Ewoks at Relic 3 to beat the 3PO event. It might make it much less of a headache, but ultimately, I mean, like, gear 11 is fine. I mean, that's even kind of overkill depending on how many times you want to do it or what mods you have. But at any rate, you don't need to, like, the Chirotech value and the signal data value that we're assuming in this, it really isn't accurate because you wouldn't be taking them to Relic 3 anyways if you were just trying to simply unlock 3PO. That being said, there is some value in Ewoks outside of the event itself. Not a lot, definitely not as much as the other teams that we've looked at here. And I think probably one of the things that needs to be said, and we kind of put it in our notes section here towards the end, is the fact that 2 of them are required at Relic 3 to be able to get Leia. And they're also going to suffer the same thing that Merrin did, or not Merrin, but the Nightsisters did, where they lacked Merrin. You're not getting Nyssa out of this either. And Nyssa is a part of, really, regardless of how you cut the cookie here, Nyssa is going to be a part of the best Ewok team. So you do have that caveat as well. Again, it's 15 bucks, but it's just stuff you don't, like, it's 600 Kyrotech that you probably weren't going to have to spend in the first place. Again, Leia kind of aside. But I guess even if we cut this price into 1/3, assuming you would need 2 of the Ewoks there, that would cut this down to, what, 140 bucks divided by 3. That's something like, what, 45-ish, $48. So, I mean, that's still more than the 15. So it can be okay. I guess if you're going for Leia and you haven't done Ewoks at all, and you want to bump them up just so you get your Chirpa and your Wicket at the cheapest price possible, that's okay. But overall, it is probably the loser when it comes to this batch of packs overall. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think there's any other type of value that we missed or any other consideration. I tried to cover it as much as I could without making it super convoluted, focusing on what was really the most value and trying really not to avoid the fact that General Skywalker Pack also includes ships. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay awesome.